One of the nice purposes to have with building a business is wanting to have a really cool team of people that you really like working with, that you want to take on your journey and make their lives better as well.
Well, sometimes if you hire the wrong person, they're working against you. Any advice or ideas or tips to listeners?
Look, just what I said before. It starts off with deciding to play a game with your business because, as much as business is about, everyone has their different purposes and passions, why they want a business.
What would be the key? What would be one of the most important statistics?
Well, the absolute key statistic is on your overall profit and loss is your cost of labour, as a percentage of sales.
What are some KPIs to really look at?
So I think...
How do we really know as a business leader if we're doing a good enough job with our hiring?
For me,
today's chat is all about transitioning your business from being a place where people go to do a job to a productive, fun, and safe space, creating a playing field where you and your team can tap into a whole new league of energy, motivation, and drive for success. Hey Gareth, so we're back with a new episode, and last time we talked a lot about Moneyball, different ways of hiring, some challenges that businesses face, which makes a really great seg into today's episode. We talk a bit about sort of this games culture. How would you define that first?
I think to define that it takes a little bit of a story and pulling things apart. It used to really take up some of my thought was, why would someone go and play sport, is it voluntarily? So they turn up and they go to a training and, this was, I played team sport and individual sports and I'd turn up, I'd train my butt off, I'd be exhausted, I'd have the coach would be yelling orders at me and then telling me that I'm useless some of the time and then patting me on the back and saying I was amazing and I wouldn't miss training, for anything. I'd make sure I was there. It's like it was a commitment I decided to make. And then I'd turn up to the game and, and play the game and, quite often injure myself, and I'd do all that and actually have to pay money to do that. And then on top of that, I'd volunteer to help out on, pie nights and different things. And yet now running a business, I'd look back at that and go, it's like, why does it feel different? Firstly, I have to pay people, which makes sense. We all need money to live. But I was like, well, why can't I have my business where people want to arrive the same way that I want to arrive for sports? And then I also noticed that actually through my career, which I started when I was 15 as a full-time apprentice, it's like, very quickly I went from just having to, being exciting because it's a new job, then going through sort of having to pull myself to work because it, wasn't that excited about it, to all of a sudden I sort of learn enough to make it a game, like a sport, and then I just look forward and love to be at work. And then by the time I became a site manager at a very young age of 18, it's like the clock was nothing. It's like everything was about getting a project done, getting it as fast as possible, playing the game or coordinating with other trades and I was working 70, 80 hours a week. And sometimes I was working, at the max I worked 70 days straight without a break. Never exhausted, just didn't, had so much passion. And that made my life so enjoyable because work was so much fun and enjoyable. And of course I was getting paid good money as well without even ever asking for a pay rise or anything else, just because I was there. I became the go-to guy without any conscious thought of becoming that person. And so when I was, started running a business, firstly, I thought that's how everyone would be. But secondly, it didn't take long for me to be disabused of the idea. And then all of a sudden I'm sort of having to drag people along, having personnel issues.
How do you mean by getting disabused? Like, how did that come about?
Well, it came out because of the situation. It's like where I had the idea that, I started a business, I employ people, they would just have my same attitude. And for the first few hirings, which I think a lot of small businesses, it happens, they get good people because they bring over the people that were similar to them. Mm-hmm. But then they've got to go outside of their contacts, and they've got to go outside of their family members and the people that were really, they work closely with and work well. And then they start having to hire in the market at large, and that totally changes their culture. And so, the real circumstances of hiring outside and bringing in just people that, we had the qualification experience, that's what disabused me, the idea that it's like, everyone will just have this, passion-driven, working like we're playing a sport to win the game every week. That idea went away. And so, to describe a games culture, it's literally people that come to work to play the game of just getting stuff done as quickly and as efficiently as they can, and enjoying the problems that come from that, enjoying the tough situations that need to be solved, enjoying, seeing things progress, seeing that there's targets and going, how can I just smash those targets out of the ballpark? And that's what a games culture is.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to get the workplace, to be as far away as possible from that idea of I'm just going to get paid.
Yeah.
Just going to do a job. It's like if you're at that, and look, sometimes you're doing a job, it's not your career job, it's not what you trained for. Maybe you're doing it because survival mode or something. But I think if you can still find that enjoyment out of it, or how you can do it better, make a game out of it, it makes it still fun for you.
Yep.
Even for that moment.
Yes. And look, I think it starts off, if a person has pride in within themselves, and then they want to expand that pride outside, so they want to have pride in how they present themselves. They want to have pride in what their work looks like. They want to have pride in their targets. They want to have pride in the workspace there, and they want to have pride in their house. It's like, I think that's a big driver. And it's like, I know for me, it's like I love things to be in order. I love things to work efficiently. I love seeing other people enjoying themselves because of something I've set up. And that makes me proud. And it's like, so when I see something that's not right, it's like, first I'll look at it, and sometimes I might get a bit frustrated or get a bit, oh my God, this is not going right. But then it's also at the same time, it's what really gives me another problem to solve and something to jump in and keep moving more and more to this better and better, different worlds that I build in my life. And then, I want those worlds to be able to be better lives for the people that I'm associated with as well. And, I realized, and not so long ago, but it's like I realized, I manufacture constant issues for myself to solve. And, I used to always be like, oh my God, when's this ever going to be right? When am I ever going to have this right? But then I realized it's like, I never actually wanted to be right, because then what am I going to do? What's going to stimulate me? It's like, the champion footballer who's now, played in 7 AFL teams and won 7 premierships. It's like they go back to the bottom of the ladder because it's like they're not interested in winning 8th premiership. It was that easy. They want to go, let's see if I can do it from the bottom of the ladder.
Who was it? Was it David Beckham that?
Well, David Beckham in soccer, he went and played, I don't know the full story. I watched the show on Netflix, I think it was Netflix, which was I loved it so much. But, he went to LA, this down and out team. And, it's like you could just see he loved playing soccer. And I don't think, he loved, obviously everyone loves winning, but you could see that if he was winning easily, it wasn't fun for him. It's like, he loves the sport so much, and he's giving so much back to it.
And it comes to challenge.
That's right. And that's it. It's like, so if you want to have, this team in your business, it's like a sports team where, everyone's high-fiving and everyone accepts loss, and they've got to basically get better to not lose again. And when everyone wins, they celebrate it together and they'll feel like they contributed. Then you need people in your organization that want to be challenged. You need people in your organization that aren't looking so much for an easy life, thinking that'll make them happy, but looking for a life that throws constant challenges at them that, they sit there and they need to solve, and from solving them, they feel like they've attained some satisfaction from that. Because that's what drives a sports team. That's what drives an athlete, and that's what drives, the drivers that are in industry and hold our society together.
We talked about this last time, but it also comes down to the goals of that team. If they're surviving at a social level, versus you're competing to get into World Cup and, keep going up, it's a different game again. Yeah,
it is. And, everyone has the right as a business owner or a manager, as long as the business agrees to it, to run the business at the level they want. And, if someone wants to run their business like an under-10s soccer team where they decided not to keep score because they don't want people to get upset if they lose or, feel like they're not including everyone, then that's totally fine. It's like you don't need to keep score. If you can do that and you enjoy your business and you make some money out of it to survive, that's great. On the other end of the spectrum, if you want to be the world champion team, that's going to take the same discipline, the same effort, the same investment sometimes of time and money as it does take, the best soccer team or the winning Formula One team or, the winning rugby World Cup team. It's going to take that same effort of just basically, you've got basically a whole, thing set up to basically how you're going to recruit and attract the talent into your team, how does it get paid for, how you get your sponsors, and you have, 20 different coaches in all different specialties.
How do you keep training and developing your existing team?
And that's very demanding. And, I'll be honest with my businesses, I'm not at that level. I'm not going for world championship, but I definitely want to be, state champion. I want to be run as a professional team. I want to be basically knowing that I'm leading my industry, that I have that business in. And I want to know that my team are all able to earn more money in my business because they're contributing well and the business runs well so that it has money available to pay really good wages. And I want to know that we're delivering a product or a service that is like up there or better than anyone else can offer. And, so that's the level I want. And I know what that takes. And, to go to the next level, it's like, I don't want to do it, because that's not my enjoyment level. For some people it is. And I'm also not going to go below that level because I want to have something that's really shiny and polished and everyone's enjoying and winning, and also winning financially.
I love that. And how you spoke about at the start that this is how you operated. You had this sort of mindset of wanting to kind of create a game out of a lot of things and, have that enjoyment. So let's say a person doesn't quite think that way, doesn't quite operate that way at the moment, but they go, hey, I have a lot of maybe issues or, or maybe, sometimes I feel like when you have personnel issues or you have challenges or problems, it's because actually people don't have a game or they have too much time on their hands, but let's say a business gets inspired or they want to push for that extra few percentage improvements and they want to get into this. How do they go about it? Like what comes first?
So, look, as a first step, my advice would be to have this concept of constant improvement. So, in the Japanese call it Kaizen and we call it constant improvement, whatever you might call it, but it's this idea that it's like, let's see how we can improve everything in our business. I find the best first step of that is go, well, let's look, what are our sales? What's our cost of goods sold? Hence then our gross profit. What's our net overheads and what's our net profit? And I look at those, those 4 very high level KPIs and go, well, how much should we increase sales? And even should we increase sales? It's like, because one thing is if you increase sales when you've got really low margins, that's not the smartest thing in the world to do. It's like, I think the first and most important thing is go, how can I get my margins that are ahead of industry margins? And, the benchmark or the way to assess what your margin should be is, I use this, I look at how much can I sell my product for? How much do my competitors discount? If they discount to the maximum level because, let's say, the industry goes quiet and everyone starts sort of, dog eating dog to win work, can I still make money at the point where they're not making money? And so I need to have my margin a good few percent better than their lowest margin. And that's one of the key points, is that's long-term survivability. But beyond that, it's like if your margin's not good, don't go and push for more sales, because that's just going to usually grind your margin lower. And you'll turn to a point, and I did this in the 90s. I remember looking at my profit and loss going, I was making so much money when I was turning over $5 million a year. Now I've got to $10 million a year and I'm not making as much money. I'll push it to $15 million next year. And of course, what do you think happened when I pushed it to 15?
Even lower margins.
Exactly. And now I was losing money. So I'm making pretty much 20% net profit on 5 mil, 5% on 10 mil and -1 on 15 mil. I didn't, my solution back in wasn't in my 20s was I'll just grow bigger.
Yeah, you can't outgrow the problem in that way, in that situation.
And I look back and I go, oh my God, how dumb was I? But at the same time, when you're in your 20s and you're building a $15 million business, it's everyone's patting you on the back. And
I think that's fantastic. You just needed to fix the bottom line a bit.
Yeah. And of course, at $15 million to fix a problem, it's such a big problem to fix. Now it's 10 times bigger than when I was at 5 million. But at 5 million, it's like our systems worked, because at $5 million, we had 40, 50 staff, something like that. And I pretty much, if I look back, I was able to basically stay included in every process. When we went to 10 million, then I didn't hand over. I didn't even recognize what I was doing. I would just hire someone and go, good, I don't have time for this anymore. You do that, without any more instruction.
And you probably had successful actions that you also didn't pass on. Yeah,
that's right. And, it's like it's another skill. There's actual skill in learning how to recognize your successful actions. And I didn't really have that skill. And, it's a little bit like if someone is naturally really good, say, at skateboarding, it's like they can't teach someone else how to skateboard. And if you want to find the best skateboard instructor, find the person that was really a bit uncoordinated and had to basically watch and learn step by step how something happened. And I had a bit of a natural sort of talent for just basically, on the technical side, with my commercial refrigeration skills and my site management side, I would fall on my feet, and I couldn't tell you what I would do to fall on my feet until things start falling apart and you go, all right, I've got to go and work out what I used to do. And so with this constant improvement, once you look at these 4 numbers and go, well, where should I push my sales to? It's like, where should I get my costs of goods sold, like my direct labor and direct material costs? Where should they be at? What should I get my overhead to? And then, what I would do over the years is basically go, all right, I used to push sales really hard, and then I stopped pushing sales so hard. And then I would basically go, well, the business is here really for shareholders. Primarily the purpose of the business is to create a profit. And so I go, okay, what should the shareholders be targeting out of the business? And then now look at the costs from above that line, go, all right, well, what can we do with sales? What can we do with overheads? What can we do with cost of goods sold? And all of those, I would just move them slightly and a percent. If you can, if you drive your sales up 10%, which sounds really low, but then you can drive your cost of goods down 1%, and you can drive your overheads down 1%, it's like, that's a fairly healthy profit improvement. And if you do that year after year after year, you actually can get a business that's, it's not necessarily doing huge sales, but it's making, $1, $2, or $3 million a year, and it feels fairly easy. And you've also got a margin where if something changes in the market, it's like, you can drop your prices to their costs and still be making some money, and the business can survive. And what that does, though, is when you do these little 1% changes, that's got to create some sort of plan or program. And this is where you can get your staff involved. And it's like, this is the first step of playing a game, is go, hey, last year our labour costs, were 23% direct labour costs, and you can get your labour team together, whatever business you're in. For me, it was in construction, so you can get your site managers together and have a little, 2-hour meeting, and literally that's all it will be. And we go, hey, how do you reckon we can get this cost down? And they go, no, and they'd give you the stupidest, most basic things, like, I think we need trolleys. Okay, good idea. So, $500 of trolleys, and I think we should do this process and do that. And then it's like, so a 2-hour meeting, and it's like, I remember one year, I think we drove cost of labour down from like 23% to 19%. It's like $150,000 saving just in a 2-hour meeting, and a couple of $1,000 investment. And then, you can look at the overheads from the administrator, you look at your staff and go, how can we do different things? And in saying all this too, it's like at the same time, labour, individual salaries going up and bonuses going up, because obviously, as the profit goes up, we always share off a portion of the profit to go back to the staff in bonuses. It's in construction, wages have had to go up a lot. So in all this time when the industry is meant to have been bleeding, especially post-COVID, it's, in that particular business, that's been able to, produce more and more savings, better margins, better profits, better wages. And, with only increasing sales slightly, being very disciplined not to overwhelm the business with having too many things to deliver that didn't allow to deliver on the efficiencies. And what that does, that's the first step of creating this sort of games culture. And I think, I know for myself, sometimes get too distracted in running the day-to-day things in the business without going, now I look at, well, how can I create more of an overarching game? And it's actually quite a simple, undemanding process that just starts getting people on board and engaged.
That's a really great way to break it down, which really starts with, let's not just go and set targets and go, okay, you're doing 2 of this, now do 4 of that. It's like you're actually starting from the most important results overall impacting the business and bringing that constant improvement in, and then going, how does it trickle down? And also I think it's fantastic to bring everybody into it that it relates to. You get their buy-in, you get their ideas, they're the ones on the ground dealing with it as well. And I think that's great way to get engagement.
Yeah, and look, what it does too, if you're not bringing, and all your staff need to be involved in some way or another. It's like from, trainees or apprentices or, graduates that come in right through to the most senior people, like involve everybody in the process. Because what it does too, it makes, if you don't have your team involved in these things, then the smallest things become the biggest problems. And what this basically does is it grows their world so that the problems they have in their workaday world look much smaller, because their world went from just what they're controlling, which is, if maybe just one site with 5 to 10 people on it, but now they're involved in the whole business that has, like 10 sites and a lot more people.
So would you talk about, like let's say someone is in an admin role, for example, and you're trying to improve the efficiency, like the profit and the revenue and so forth, and you've worked out that if they can do X amount more, it's like that's going to drive up efficiency, which means you can produce more and so forth. So would you still share everything to do with the business and go, this is what we're doing, this is where we want to head, these are the targets, and then this is how we feel your position sort of fits into improving this?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and, everybody will be involved from with a simple explanation what's going on. And, if you've got, we have in that business, we have like 16-year-old apprentices that So to be talking about we're going to, cost of goods sold and overhead and 1%, it's not the conversation.
Yeah.
The conversation over for the whole business is like, hey guys, we're out there. We want to be really good at what we do. We want to deliver really well to our customers. We want everybody in the business to be earning, great money. And most importantly, we want everyone to come to work and really enjoy it. And I'll even talk to them about we want you to be as excited to come to work as you do when you play sport or, when you go and engage in your hobbies. So they know that, and we want that, and that sets the scene for the sort of things they should be complaining about if they've got complaints. I don't want someone to complain that, oh, Joe yelled at me and it's like, I feel uncomfortable. It's like, yeah, they should complain about it, but I prefer to complain and go, hey, it's like I feel like I really want to learn about X, Y, or Z because I want to get into this part of the industry or, I want to do this or do that. And they're the things that, and if people know you want to constantly improve and, we have little processes like we rolled out a skills matrix that we're still refining, but the idea of that is it's like we survey all of our guys and I think there's about 200 or 300 skills that we realise are required to basically be able to do any of the technical parts of the business. And we get people to self-assess themselves on how skillful they are on all of those things from 1 to 5, 5 being I can teach others, 1 being I've never heard of it. And then we get them to, second to that, once they self-assess on them, and we ask them on the same thing, well, how desirable is it for you to know about this? And 5 being I absolutely feel I must know to do my job better, and 1 being I have really no interest at all. And that not only helps us to see where people are at, it helps us see what they want to know about or learn about. And sometimes if enough people want to know about something, then we'll work out how we can do sort of group training on it. If it's just a low amount of people, we'll try and team them up with a person that feels like they can train the person in that area. And so that creates just a whole nother game and a feeling that we care for our staff. But on the flip side of that, it's like it just keeps creating obviously better and better staff members as well. And we're not training them on what we would think they should be trained on, even though that sometimes needs to be done. But we take them down a path that they're telling us they want to go down. And so, that's at a more of a micro level. So we give the overall view or sort of concept of where we want to take the business, and when we talk about the areas we want to create improvements in, and I always talk now we want to do slight improvements. We want to just nudge this along a bit, and I've realised those slights and those nudges, when you do them in 4 or 5 areas, can sometimes double your profit. It's like I've done the old let's just hack into something and change it so much, and it reduces the feeling of overwhelm. Correct. As well. You're going to change everything. Yeah. Well, as you know, it's like I got really excited. It was probably 8 years ago now when we went down the EOS path, and was it called the Entrepreneurial Operating System? Yeah, I think so. Sensational. It's such a good system, and it's we put it in. We're running it in our different businesses, and you were part of it with Performia and running in other businesses, and it was dynamic. It was exciting, but oh my God, the pressure of it was insane. And one of the businesses we put it into, it's like within a year, I think it took it from $8 to $14 million in sales. And I had the management team sitting there going, yes, we're going to build this into a $50 million business. Anyway, it went to $14 million of the sales. And if the EOS system is definitely something to look at, but it's a really demanding system because it's like it has weekly pulse meetings. It has the 90-day rocks. 90-day rocks. And you got to choose these rocks, and then you have these meetings. If you don't make your rocks, you're made to feel like you're just a loser. Yep. And so basically what happened, the pressure of taking that business to 8 to 14 million, along with these constant meetings and doing the rocks being sort of some major program that you got to roll out to be able to improve things. it's pretty much within 9 or 10 months, it's like I'd lost half that management team that were basically saying they were going to do all the hard work. And then I was left picking up the baby and had to repair it. And as usual, it's like the profit dropped off. So yeah, profit dropped off from the 8 to the 14 million and physically dropped, not just percentage wise. And so then, I was left basically going, okay, that was a rocket ride. And it literally is a rocket ride. But it wasn't the way I wanted to run my businesses. And that's what actually made me aware that it's like, we don't need to go and try and change things so fast. We don't need to drive this massive sales increase. And I'm not saying that's not wrong, because I really admire these people that can go and, they run these businesses and 5 years later they're 100 million. It's like, that is just so admirable.
You've got to be ready for that game though.
Yeah. And you've got to, also too, the people that do that, it's like they also have really made sure their margins stick in place. And so it's possible if you make sure your margins stick in place, and a lot of margin too, because you're going to make a lot of mistakes along the way, and you're going to need to spend a lot of money that you'll end up spending incorrectly to, continually support that amount of growth. And so if you're going to start off trying to go from 10 million to 100 million in sales, my advice would be making 25% net profit, have $5 or $6 million in the bank, and then, you've got time to catch up to that sort of growth. And unfortunately, that's not what I was doing in my 20s. In my 20s, I was just an empire builder. When we decided to do EOS, amazing, learned so much from it. And the biggest thing I learned was we can do constant improvement like EOS pushes, but we don't need to do it with that much pressure. And, the way to do it is have people that are coming into your business the same way they go and play sport and train, that just want to be there and want to contribute, and then just nudge them along to improve. And their improvement improves their group, that improves the business and allows their, wages and their bonuses to grow. And now you literally have a voluntary sports team that at the same time, it gets money. They get salary.
Yeah, and something you mentioned before about getting your staff to complain about the right things. That's also a really important point, because from a management point, if you don't handle those things that rightly so people are frustrated by, that's how you can also lose your top producers.
Yes.
As well. Sometimes people leave because they go, I really wanted to get more of this done, and I really wanted to triple this, and I wanted to do this, but it's just the business wasn't supportive or didn't care, or they were trying to fix something else, put some other fire out, and that's why a lot of good people actually leave. Absolutely.
And it's like, it's pretty much the only reason. It'd be 9 out of 10 of the reason why your top producers leave is they just feel frustrated. They can't get the job done as easily and as fast as they want to get it done. And it's something that I'm just handling this week with one of my top producers. He's like, I answer the phone, and the first thing he goes, I'm really frustrated. And I go, I got it. And so I had to build the bigger picture for him again to sort of pull out of this micro problem on this project he's trying to run and go, okay, I get it. And so they don't like it.
Yep. So one of the things we've also talked about is that the average retention of people is a lot longer than we're made to believe. I think it's rather 10 or 12 years, which does create another situation with potential staff complacency. And one of the things I've heard is people stay for long periods, and flat out long retention is not always a good thing, is it? It's like we want retention of the right people. It's got to be right for both ways. And if the person's just filling a seat for long term, but their production or motivation or contribution has dropped, that's not ideal either. So I guess my question is, how do you bring, and this might be two questions, but it's like, how do you actually introduce this game to people that or maybe good team members, maybe they are contributing, but, maybe they're kind of also just okay doing what they're doing, or they've maybe become a bit complacent. So how to handle that?
Everyone has a different level of game they play. It's like, you don't want people in your business that basically have the attitude, it doesn't matter how hard I work, I still get paid the same per hour. That's, you don't want that sort of person. Minimally, you want a person that's going, I get paid, I just want to feel like at the end of the day, I've contributed and I feel worthy to earn my pay. This is a minimum standard. That sort of person is at least already playing some sort of game, because at least they're playing a game versus their wage. And for them, in life, exchange is important. They don't want to take any more than they give or give any more than they take. That's a sort of a good minimum standard. And so if you've got a person like that, it's like, doesn't mean you need to get rid of them. It doesn't mean they need to play the game, but you just don't want people that are playing against the game. And some, if depending on, of course, how you select people into your business, if you're selecting game players, and of course in Performia, this is like our whole system is, you can know who these people are and you can make the choice of whether, at least have the choice before you hire someone to know, or do they have the potential to want to play the game. But it's like, you just need to make sure that no one's going to play against you. And if some people will really engage in it and relish it, and some people will just go along for the ride. And it's not wrong to just tolerate those people that aren't working against you. And it's not wrong to also go, I want everyone to be relishing it. And if you want to play the game of everyone relish it, then you got to become a really good talent scout. You're
gonna be willing to go through that.
Yeah, you got to be I'm willing to lose the people that don't want to relish it, and I'm going to put a lot of time and effort and find the right tools so I can find and get the people in that are going to relish it. But I would say that I know of some people that work in our businesses that don't relish it, but they go along for the ride. They contribute, they add value to the business, but I don't need to be replacing them.
What if they're quite like that, but performance has sort of gone down a bit? Maybe they're not meeting targets as much as they would, but they do hold an important role because they're not terrible. They're generally a really good person, but their performance has dropped, and they hold a role where maybe they're dealing with clients, important clients. They've got too much information now, knowledge. It would be very hard to replace that. How do you handle that? Because also, as an owner, you might now be like, oh my God, I don't want to have to go through the whole pain of rehiring, replacing for this. And sometimes they end up just sort of going, well, I'll just keep putting up with it a bit longer. Or
it's really interesting. And as you're asking a question, I'm going, how am I going to answer this? And so this is how I answer that question. It's like I have my slight targets. A little bit of improvement on cost of goods, a little bit of improvement on overhead. We grow our sales. It's like we get our money. And so if all those are heading in the right direction, it's like I'll probably go, I don't need to really handle it. I can have a little bit of a socialist attitude, probably I should say, to it. It's like, we're making our targets, we're improving. Do I really need to go down this path and make more work for myself, and this person's not doing as well as they probably should? On the other side of it, it's like, it's also quite easy just to have a bit of a conversation with someone, find out where they're at, find out what they're doing, and decide, do I need to push this person? Will this conversation be enough? And so I suppose the real answer here is go look at the bigger picture for yourself as a business owner. What fights do I need to pick off? Do I need every person on my team to be at 100%? Have I got room? Am I making enough money? Or am I making more money this year than last year that I really need to get involved and fix that thing? And if the answer is, hey, my profits are going up, my product that's going out to the market is improving, it's like I'm getting the wages and conditions better for my team. It's like, you can buy yourself this. You can buy yourself this serenity where you don't need to handle everything. Now, of course, if profits drop off, and then I'm going to have to start going, oh my God, now I've got to go and do the hard work. But I like the idea that I've building businesses where we have a substantial amount of cash in them, we have substantial other reserves, and we have great margins, and we have all these things that I don't want emergencies. Pretty much. I've built this structure. I don't have to have emergencies.
So what's an advice though to businesses? Let's say they're having a tough year, stats have been dropping, results have been dropping, and meanwhile they've got a couple of these situations, really good people. Normally it's like great person, hold a responsible role, but they're also not meeting their targets, and the owner feels a little bit backed off from pushing this person, and because of all the other potential consequences and fears around even how to have the conversation and, how to nudge this person without the potential of losing them. What's an advice to that owner on how to handle this?
Yeah. Look, there's so many different circumstances and situations to go. There's this one thing to do. But it's like you said in there, the owner's backed off. And is the owner backed? I always look at, if I'm backed off on handling something, I ask myself the question, why am I backed off? Am I backed off because I've done something to this person that I shouldn't have? Have I let this person do things that I haven't handled them on? And then now it's hard to basically, because I've made it okay that they did this now because I didn't say something. Or am I scared this person's going to leave, but they're important? Am I underpaying the person? And so I sort of run through this little list in myself and go, where can I take responsibility for the fact that I'm not handling the situation? And of course, there's the fifth, I didn't count how many things there were, but I think it's number 5 is, am I just deciding I don't need to handle it because it's not really affecting our profit? And so I think that's the first thing, is look inwards and go, why am I backed off? It's like, what am I scared of? Because when you've got a very easy to run business, part of that is because you've got a great team. The other part of it is because you're actually doing everything sort of cleanly with that team, including you're making sure they're getting paid what they should be getting paid, those sorts of things. And the worst scenario here really is you're backed off because the person has sort of made you sort of feel like, this person sort of made it feel like that if you approach me or push me too hard, I'll leave, but you need me. And you have this chance that the person is actually, you're probably better off not having that person in business. And I've found that quite often the person I've been most scared of leaving has been the person that actually needed to leave. And when I've actually finally been forced to handle them and it hasn't gone well and they've left, or it's like I've been pushing so much that they've resigned, or, it's like I found that person I was really scared of leaving, when they go, it was actually no big deal. It was actually it was better that they were gone and things freed up and it was like, I'm thinking, oh my God, how did they trick me into thinking they were so important in this business? But it starts off with, you're saying backed off, but it starts off, you've got to have the conversation.
And I think that's actually a really good, and something else you said earlier was that if they're also a good team member, it can really go 2 ways. And if they are a good person that just for some reason their motivation's dropped, having that conversation with them might not actually be what you fear that they're going to leave. It might actually just lead to a better situation for everybody.
Yeah. And, sometimes you've got to have a conversation before the conversation.
How do you do
sometimes
that?
From my personal experience, if let's say someone's not really performing the way they should, and quite often because I like them, or because I sort of I'm in empathy, I have some empathy with what's happening, it's like I don't really handle them, so I sort of start to drop out of communication with them a little bit. But, sometimes you just got to have that light conversation with, it's like, oh, hey, Negar, I'm chatting for a little while. What have you been up to? What's been happening? Oh, yeah, it's like, and then you might need to do that once or twice over a few days, and then just have and then you've broken that ice and reestablished.
It's not a full serious meeting. So you might be on your way making a coffee.
Exactly. You've just reestablished some affinity. And then now you can actually open up the conversation with, hey, it's like, you reminded me, I saw you a couple of times, and it's like, I want to just go over some of these numbers. I want to have a look and see, how, what's happening here, because you're my, usually my stable person to get these things to happen, and they haven't happened as they normally would. So I want to understand what's happening there, because it's like, as soon as you go into like,
you're not delivering.
You're not. Yeah, it's like the person's going to have to defend themselves, and you don't want to have a discussion of the person defending themselves. You want to have a discussion that leads to solutions.
And also, how do we do it together? It's kind of like you're sitting across a table versus sitting next to each other.
Yeah, that's it. And the first step is understanding it. It's like, you might just by understanding the situation and explaining it to you, realize, oh my God, I can see what's happening. I know how to fix this. It's like, oh, I said that. Oh my God, I didn't mean this. I didn't mean you to take that and do it that way. And that's happened to me before as well. I've given some sort of order, or not even an order, but said something, and someone's taken it and they're rolling with it. And it's like they're doing what I thought they wanted to do, which is causing the problem. So it's really important to be able to just be able to communicate with anyone that's in your organization at a friend level. I'm not saying you have to be friends, but at a friend level, and be interested in something about them. Like, be interested in your team members, be interested in that they're doing well. And sometimes you have to take that bit of extra responsibility for them, because sometimes they can be a little bit self-destructive sometimes, like because they don't feel like they can approach you, or they don't feel like they should complain about something. And so then this is why they sometimes roll off and just find another job and not tell you.
And I think sometimes if you have really good people, not sometimes, I think all the time, when you have good people, they actually feel bad themselves if they're also not doing well.
Yes.
So they kind of internalize that.
Yeah, and they hide from you.
Yeah, potentially, yeah.
Because they feel bad, not because they're hiding to not be sacked. They just feel bad.
Yeah, that's right. And I think also one of the things I do is I want to know, like I know that person's a good person in the team, and I know even if something is down, it's like I know they're going to be working hard, because I know them at a personal level, as in I know what kind of person they are. So I'm interested in, hey, what can I do to make your job better?
Yep.
What can I do to help you? Is there anything I can do to help you, to make it easier for you, to make it more productive,
Yep.
And they're the best person to tell me that.
Yeah. And here's the underlying important reason why we need to be doing this, is because when you have a staff member in this situation, it's like they're not as happy as they should be. And if they are as happy as they should be, you don't want them in your organization.
Yeah.
And so I don't want people to think or feel like they're losing or not doing enough, because then they're just not feeling good about coming to work. And then when they get home from work, they're not having that good feeling of having a good day at work. And sometimes it also means actually terminating people to make their life better. If it's not working for them, if they can't be productive in your organization, then terminate them and do it as a favor, not as a chore. And because it's like you're going to allow them to go and find that job or that organization where they can win.
I have a question on this because you brought up the hiding part. Now, couple this with the work from home hybrid type arrangements, and some people are now going, I want to work from home a lot more, and add that to the challenge of going, okay, I need to have a conversation with this person who is usually a great team member, but stats are dropping, but they're also doing most of the time now working from home. And this has gone for a while, how do they handle that to go, I need this person back in the office, I need to have this conversation?
Yeah, look,
and I also don't want to lose them.
Working from home is such an interesting topic, and it's like, in fact, in all my businesses, if a person has a job where they can do it from home, they all have the option to work from home. And what I find is that most days of the week, people are actually not working from home. So in Performia, you would know better, but I don't think,
No, maybe one day, one person might work from home, but yeah.
Yeah, for a week. For the week, you mean, one day a week?
Yeah, one day per week, yeah.
Yeah, and, my other business, it's pretty much people only work from home because something's happening at home, like they have a plumber coming or they're going to do this or do that, or, the Westgate Bridge shut down, so they go, it's going to take me 2 hours to get to work, But they all choose to come into the office. And now I think working from home is an amazing concept because it allows employers to basically find people all around the country, if not the world, which creates another problem because working from home people are actually showing that their jobs can be done offshore, which is a problem for the employee market and for the country. But it does give the employer this opportunity to find people all around Australia to work for them. It gives the employees the opportunity to basically live a life out of the city or in a rural location or be more connected with their family. There's so many benefits to it. But the downside is you do lose that. I think one of the things that the workplace provides is this feeling of camaraderie, this feeling of being connected. And I sort of a little bit worried that if you have whole companies or so people that just don't want to go in the office, it's like are they hiding or are they doing a lifestyle choice? And so it's complex. And in really large organizations, I don't understand the implications of it because I never worked in a really large organization or have that experience. But I know from my experience, it's like the people want to come into work. And personally, I've actually worked from home because when my children were younger, I used to spend, 3 to 6 months of the year snowboarding with them around the world and working from all over the world and doing things. And it definitely, in a lot of ways, it created a lot of efficiency for me because I wasn't distracted by what was going on in the office. But on the other side of it, I would miss a lot of things too and start to feel more and more disconnected from people. I noticed the longer I spent away, the more critical I became of my team because I wasn't seeing the person and building the affinity,
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it depends, obviously. And we're talking about when you have a physical office in the same city. Obviously, at Performia, we have people who are working in a different country, and we're working for Australian sort of side. And the only reason that works is because we've hired the right person. We trust in them totally. The fact that they're not in the same office as me has zero impact on my confidence in that person.
Yeah, and look, and that's something too. Like I've probably got the record for hiring the worst team ever. Then I obviously found Performia and then loved it so much that it's like I loved it so much I bought the company. But I loved it so much that I rolled it out in Australia and opened up the office in Japan and in China. And then now I feel like I've got the record for creating the best team ever. And the difference is when I was creating the worst team ever, first it took me quite a while to realize I was creating the worst team. Then it became the worst team is just normal. And then it became I just didn't trust anyone to get anything done. And then I lost confidence in myself because I felt like I'm not a good business person because everything that I suggest and try doesn't work. But then now I produce such a great team, you realize that all those things that didn't work were actually because of the team. And the team literally convincing me that it's like they were bad ideas and it didn't work and this and that. And then, then you're going into loss and going, oh my God, I'm the worst manager ever. But I wasn't, I was just the worst recruiter ever. My recruitment part of me, that became my businesses was terrible. And now I have a team where it's like, I never need to worry about, are they doing enough? Are they moving fast enough? Are they, I don't monitor, we monitor their hours because we do have different apps and stuff like that. But it's like if they work 30 hours or 50 hours and they're salaried, it's like, it's not my decision, it's their decision. And, it's, so many things I had to control and manage and be concerned about. It's like, I don't have, they're not there anymore. It's like, and that makes business, again, that whole just different level of just run a business, team of people. We run around on the field, we kick the ball, we have fun, and we're close to winning a championship. It feels good.
Yeah, and competitions are fun as well. And we talk about games, and obviously there's rewards of it. There's the official financial bonuses, but it's like also rewards and competitions don't have to be always you win $1,000 or $1 million. Like if we look at Performia, we're in 26 or more countries, and we play this game.
The expansion game.
And it rewards different things. And do we get something we get a little trophy, and that's worth I fought really hard to get that special star, that they gave us. And but it's you're part of the game. Everyone in the worldwide team is performers, and we're all learning off each other.
Yep.
And it's just it's a fun game, and we fight for points. Need to get this extra, and they're not all based on sales and expansion. There's different metrics, and it's all about they've had the different leagues, the different competitions, and it's just fun.
Exactly right. And in the construction business that I'm involved in, it's like there's quite a few bonus people that work on production-based pay. Is we have subcontractors on hourly rate, full-time staff that work on salaries. And on top of that, every time there's a distribution of profit, there's always some of that split off, and with discretion given to different people. It's not a mathematical thing so much as it's like, let's say there might be 100 or 200 grand to be split up to the staff. It's like we'll sit down as the shareholders and go, where should we put this? Which people really we feel deserve it? And of course, the majority of that is like, this guy's making us a shit ton of money, so he's going to get really rewarded. And she's basically just really stepping up. So, and then sometimes it's like, she's going to go on maternity leave soon, so we'll give her some extra. And so we can be social. We can, we have that discretion, which I enjoy. But apart from that, we have the little improvement games that we constantly run. Like, how can we go? And the guys can get excited because they find some new machine or equipment that can speed things up, and they'll send me. We use a lot of group chats, and they'll send it on a group chat, and I go, "It looks amazing." And if I don't think it looks amazing, it might be $400. I buy it, send it to them, and they get excited as playing a game for them, And then I'll share my frustration, say we might be having with a client or an issue with them. And even though it's not done a lot to do with them, it lets them into my game a little bit. And then when I've solved it, and I might talk about the process with them, it's like then they feel like they were part of it and they were cared for enough. And that's why I think it's important to don't keep all your business problems to yourself, even not to do with your stuff, but share them. Run out of your office and go, "Oh my God, this client is demanding this and that, and they're using a contract and the bank." It's like, all right. And someone will go, "How do you want to help?" "I've got to solve it myself, but I want to bend." And then you can come and go, "Hey," they call back and they're really happy, and everyone's like, "Oh, good," And it's like, it's good to keep people involved, and with the right sort of drama, because it's like, the business drama is good drama, as in what's happening in the drama of your business.
When we look at, when everyone's really united, or you have a common goal or enemy, it's like everyone really, really goes on the same side.
Yep.
And I think the one thing I also want to add is that if someone's like, "Okay, yeah, cool, I'm vested into this game. This sounds really good. What am I going to get for it before I get involved?" That's also the wrong sort of attitude, because this is innate, isn't it? It's like it starts from how we attract, how we hire people. They've got to kind of come in with that interest to want to do things better and want to play that game. Because I play lacrosse. It's like, no one gives me anything when we win, aside from that, is that sense of satisfaction. You overcame something that was tough, challenging, you united together.
Yeah, exactly. And lacrosse, actually, are they called goals? Do you score goals in lacrosse?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So how many goals in a match is normal in lacrosse?
Really depend, but can be a high scoring game. Could be 10, 20.
What's the most amount of goals you've scored in a match?
Our team?
No, you personally.
I play more defense than midfield. So
Oh, okay. That's your excuse.
I've done assists though. Pardon?
So, okay, that's your excuse.
Yes. No, I've done assists, and assists are very important because you set it up.
Yeah, I got it.
But I can tell you how many balls I've defended from going in.
And so if someone scored 5 goals in a match, that would be really good?
Not necessarily.
One person?
Yeah, that can be pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, so imagine this person, are they like a full forward? Do they have a position or attack or?
Yeah, attack, midfield, defense.
Yeah, so let's say this person that can score 5 goals every match because they're so good. Imagine the coach is patting them on the back and they're going, all right, I'm relying on you today again to score 5 goals. And this person goes, okay, well, before I decide to score 5 goals, what will I get?
Kick in the butt.
But this is what we employ people to do this. It's like we employ people to go, all right, I can kick goals, I can score goals, or I can, in lacrosse, we throw goals, right? It's like, but imagine in a team, if someone in a team playing sport said that, you'd be going, oh my God, I don't want you on the team, get out.
Yeah. Where's that team spirit? That's just not good sportsmanship.
Whereas employers, we seem to think that it's actually, okay, that's pretty normal. Yeah, someone should just demand what they want, what they're going to get before I ask for it. And also too, on the other side, it's like fair enough if a person does kick goals, let's say they do score these 5 goals and get no acknowledgement for it, that would be horrible.
Absolutely. And that's why in sports you have the MVP, the most valued person, that the team votes for. There's the awards end of season for that.
And also, but in the workplace, if you've got people that are making you really good money and you're not giving them something extra for it, it's like, don't expect them to hang around. And they're not going to ask for it. I find that the really good and productive guys, they don't know how productive they are. They don't even know how much more money they're making.
They just feel that something's out.
Yeah.
You know?
And so if you're not just basically going up to them going, hey man, that was an amazing project, or we had an amazing year, here's a bonus. And it shouldn't only be, or maybe not even just cash, but it's like, give them hotel tickets for a great hotel and a dinner
Even
with
take
their
them out
wife.
for a lunch, like give them attention.
Yeah. But I find it's better to give them something that involves their wife or their husband as well, because then, it sort of forces them to go, oh yeah, this is because of my work. Because my boss gave it to me because I did such a good job. So it helps them with their spouse.
They probably do hear a lot of vents.
Yeah,
every now and then.
And then the other side of the spouse going, oh, what a great company. I'm glad you're there. And so, you want to, it's not wrong to try and want to get that family and that spousal support. Because, I've had quite a few people resign because they're going, oh, my wife told me that I'm not sleeping well because of the job and I've got to resign. And you're, oh, damn, but you're so good. Yeah, I know, but I take the job home with me and,
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
Well, this has been a very, very interesting chat. I feel like we've covered some really good points, and I certainly hope it gives ideas to businesses no matter where they're at. So thank you so much to everybody who's watched or listened. Any questions or comments, send it to us, and we look forward to answering them for you. Thanks, Gareth.
Thanks, Negar. Thank you.